Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to discuss the importance, the significance, and the steps taken to implement on the ground the presidential initiative of Haya Karima, or Decent Life, to improve the living conditions of Egyptians all over Egypt, particularly in the rural areas, and to eradicate slums. No more dangerous areas, no more unsafe zones. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said it more than once, and maybe in all occasions. Every Egyptian citizen deserves to live in better conditions and in a civilized manner. We deserve a lot, and we are working for this goal. To shed more light on this, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Professor Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics. Hello, ma'am. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Ma'am, we are going to start with slums, with the unsafe or dangerous areas. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as I said Egypt should be completely free of these slums or these areas, and this is something which really has different aspects, whether security, whether fighting terrorism, whether economic, whether even it's the civilized image of the Egyptian community. Tell me, or would you please elaborate on these statements which were said by the President, and how implementing this on the ground has really taken tangible steps on the ground?
Yes, actually, we have several models on the ground, like you mentioned, regarding addressing slums and trying to improve the quality of life for the people living there. We all know to how extent people living in the slums were suffering from, very bad life conditions, which actually have been impacted on their participation even in the development of their countries. And from here it comes that we have several examples like Al-Asmarat to prove that this model is going quite well to try to enhance the quality of life for the people, transferring them from a very bad condition, unhuman condition actually, into a different quality of life in which they can have government services, of education, of health services, parks, changing the quality of life for children living there to start a new life in which they can actually participate in the development of their countries. But what you have mentioned regarding, enlarging this model into the whole rural areas that include 58% of the population of Egypt. So enlarging this, concept of life to try to change the quality of life for the people suffering from poverty, has been extended to rural areas. These rural areas have been actually subject to, different problems regarding services of sanitation, of having clean water, of having services of education and, and health services specifically. From here it comes that improving the quality of life by specifying, these services and their conditions and how to, improve these conditions of life for people living there, but addressing their homes, the services, and specifically by having health centers. We are talking about COVID-19 nowadays, and the necessity of having very good health services. And besides, Egypt nowadays is going to implement the health security system, insurance system, and this is actually required to improve the health centers, hospitals, and so on, to improve the quality of health services provided for people. But I would like to, concentrate on the importance of the economic empowerment of people living there. And President Sisi has strengthen the importance of having economic zones in these areas. We used to have villages and rural areas, in past decades, they were the main providers of, food and all, products required for the people living in urban areas. But nowadays, rural areas are taking all their requirements of products from the urban areas. We would like to change this situation, to return back to economic zones in which every zone is trying to see what are the products that they can have a comparative advantage. Comparative advantage not only for providing the whole country with the product in a very good way, but internationally. We would like to improve the competitiveness of the product so that to reach, international markets. And from here it comes that the efforts that are done nowadays to specify for each zone which product can have a comparative advantage, how to make or to enhance economic activities, to encourage the private sector. And yesterday or the day before, President Sisi had a very important meeting with ministers to discuss the importance of enhancing the role
economic
of the local component.
Yes, ma'am. This important meeting with the Economic Ministerial Group, you mean? I mean, yes. This was, as you've kindly mentioned, a very important meeting which discussed a number of issues, including what you're talking about, ma'am. Sorry for the interruption.
Yes. So this is quite important, because what we need is harmonized, orchestrated efforts done by all ministers in order to achieve our goal regarding how to return back economic zones in Egypt, benefiting from our resources. And nowadays, with the mega projects that have been implemented the last period, Upper Egypt becoming a very important, attractive point of investment for even foreign investors nowadays are trying to look the opportunities. And we have several multinationals nowadays working in Upper Egypt. So Upper Egypt is going to be a very attractive point of investment because it's full of unexploited resources. And these unexploited resources, if you transfer it into potentialities for investment, it's going to represent a very profitable.
Amen to that, ma'am. And to add to what you're saying, Dr. Youmn, we cannot neglect the SMEs. We cannot neglect that the Egyptian state put the SMEs as a top priority, and of course included into the financial inclusion. They are going just to take their chance, but also implementing the financial inclusion law, and this is to guarantee their success and to guarantee that they are part and parcel of the economic progress in Egypt in general. If you want to elaborate and if you want to give a kind of comparison between
thank you for specifying this point, because without SMEs you cannot address poverty. Without SMEs you cannot achieve equality of economic distribution. The feeding industries by SME to large industries is a cornerstone to improve the competitiveness of our industrial sector. So SMEs may represent a very important, asset that we have to work on it. And actually, we have the initiative of President Sisi from the banking sector to direct 30% of their, credit facilities to SMEs, and you have different initiatives working to support SMEs. We need to activate it to enhance the outreach of these initiatives to the people, because I am, as a professor in university, I'm addressing youth all the time, and still we need to enhance the awareness of our youth regarding such opportunities, and to encourage them to benefit from these opportunities. We need to concentrate also on the role of women.
Yeah, sure.
women can play a significant role, and we need to increase the participation, economic participation of women by upgrading skills of women, allowing them for more training, more knowledge. Like you mentioned, financial inclusion is quite important.
Yes.
Nowadays, we have an application on mobile enabling women to have economic activities. So all these initiatives can work quite well together in order
Yes,
to,
ma'am. Dr. Youmn, I have just
achieve our
2
goals.
minutes, if you permit me, and I do have a final question. Maybe it's a little bit far from economics, but in my humble opinion, it's included. The psychological effect of this initiative. This initiative is really eradicating the word centralization. You do not need to go to Cairo or to even the capital of
Yes.
your governorate
Yes.
to do anything for your best interest. You can do everything and you can receive the best service ever when you are at home, just a
Yes.
few steps from your home. Don't you think that this is another motive for better work, for better state of mind, for better participation in the development process, in the sustainable development process, 2030 in specific?
Yes, I fully agree with you. And the psychological message is that President Sisi would like to deliver a very important message, which is all the efforts of development done in Egypt. All these efforts are addressing all Egyptians, which means that this development is going to be dedicated for all Egyptians.
Yes.
And, you know, regardless, we are talking about sex, we are talking about people living in rural areas, in urban areas, the poor people, the rich people. So all Egyptians should benefit from all these initiatives. And
all
when we
Egyptians.
address
This is the
need,
key word.
this is
All
important.
Egyptians. Dr. Youmn, I really enjoy our discussions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a very good day. We were with Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics. Well, by this we come to the end of this episode of our breakfast show today, but tomorrow is another day with another crew. Well, you were in the company of my dear colleague Halal Hamalawi and myself, Nermeen Abdurrahman. Many thanks for watching.